Okay, there we go. We're recording. We're in business. The beginning of the call. And on the 11 o'clock call, we went over the workbook for chapter 2. Um, it's kind of a more dry chapter, I'll admit, going over the kind of legal aspect and the licensing and certification details about massage. It's important to go through it early so that you kind of know what you're getting into, what are the scope of our practice, what do we cover, and what are we going to be able to do with it, and what's related to that in regards to the state giving us licensure and the state taking away licensure if we go out of it. So it's good to know that stuff. We'll talk about it again when we get into the end of the class in module 4. We'll start talking about the ethics and the business side of massage again as a class, because you'll be going into your final project, which is your business plan, and I'll come back to that in a second. But in order to get you ready to be out there working as a massage therapist, we want you to have this basic understanding of what's involved first, and then we'll go back over it again so that you kind of are more familiar with it by the end, and you've built on this chapter 2 knowledge by that time. So as a brief overview, the stuff that we're going to cover in chapter 2's test, which is going to be Monday, is going to be just covering stuff from chapter 2, like the scope of practice, what that means, the licensing regulations, testing and licensing procedures, legal and professional boundaries, from chapter 2 in your textbook, the hardback, licensing requirements for the regulations and laws of the United States, and for each city, what kinds of things are considered unethical practices, misleading advertising, licensing requirements. So that'll give you an idea of what that entails in licensing. And then state laws, and who may practice, and what is a certification versus what is a license. We've covered all this in the workbook somewhat, but it's also in the book, so I recommend that you maybe read it a couple times. And then educational requirements. So admission requirements to a massage school. You've all met those requirements, so you probably recently did that and remembered what they were. The training programs, what they entail, and then licensing with hours of classroom training. So in our school, we do 720 hours, which meets the basic minimum requirement, which is 500 hours. And it almost meets the national amount of hours, which is 750 hours. And then the national certification for therapeutic massage and bodywork requirements. And what things might be grounds for losing a license. So your license evocation, suspension, and cancellation regulations. So you want to be familiar with all that stuff. And we will do a test on that stuff on Monday. It'll be due by midnight on Monday. So going back over your workbook is going to be beneficial. Reading over the chapter again, highlighting anything that you think is relevant to those topics, and new information or harder to remember information, so you can kind of remember it more easily. Highlighting it, making some notes, always going to be a good idea. Going back to the business plan, I want to give you a preview of one. It's not the best example, it's just my example. Usually in the classroom, I have a shelf where some people have left behind their business plans over the years. And so there are a few examples to look at, and you can kind of get a better picture of what's expected. Mine is from 6 years ago, and it's just the one I happen to have at home because I'm not home. And this is the final project for massage students in our program when they go through business practices and ethics, the module 4 class, so that you'll have a kind of a not a fingerprint, an outline of what you would like to do with yourself as a practice when you graduate. So not everybody goes out and starts a business. Some people just want to be an employee, and that's okay. But I like to have you do the exercise anyway to explore what you would like to do if you had to open a business. So it gives you some creative juices to play with and think about what you might do in your own practice. And for a lot of us, we might become an employee at some point. Probably most massage therapists at some point do try out employment, even if they also are massage therapists on their own as a sole proprietor at the same time. So when you're doing that, it is still very common as an employee to also have friends or family members on the side who want to do massage, and you just do your own little small business doing some massages on the side. So that's what this is about. So you can either plan to start your own business and just do it 100% from the beginning that way. That's what I did. After I graduated, I rented a little room next to a chiropractor's practice, and I started with a very small business, and it grew a little bit. I moved eventually to a bigger building and rented another room to a couple other therapists. And so you can grow your own business from a tiny little, you got a table, you got your equipment, you got your supplies, you got a very basic filing system and a license. That's all you need, your business license.
Just real quick, not to interrupt you, but is anybody else seeing you sideways?
Oh, am I sideways?
You are sideways to me. I don't know about everybody else. It took me a while to figure out how to even join on here, but you are sideways. Am I the only one seeing you sideways?
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm just not the only one. I'm going, am I just losing my mind?
Yeah, it's turned correctly for me, but let me see if...
I'm fine with listening to you sideways. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. That's weird. Let me see if I can...
You're up right now. You're good.
My tripod so that it won't do that.
Yeah, you're up right now.
Okay. I'll try to keep the phone oriented this way while still having the ability to be on a tripod. That's the challenge for me.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Let's see. Might have to rest it on a book or something. Here we go. Anatomy of movement. Helping me out. Okay. It's kind of crooked, but more upright than it was, right?
You're way better. Yep, perfect.
Oh, good. Make sure my volume is up. Okay. All right. So your business plan. It's going to be a way for you to have some stuff already planned out. These are going to be my prices to start with. This is my menu of services. These are my policies and procedures. This is the supplies I plan on buying, or that some of them I've already purchased maybe. So you get a list of some of that stuff going and planned out. And then that way it's easier to, hit the road rolling with your business. So when I was in school, I made one. It's not the best one. It's not that great, but it did help me. I just put it in like a purple binder. I love a folder. I love purple. It's that power color. So this was
my favorite color too.
It hasn't stayed very well. Yeah, I can see that, Diana, in your robe. So it's not really attached right now. But I designed myself a logo. It's not anatomically correct, but it kind of made sense at the time. This one is, but this one, let's just pretend like it's right. So my business cards, eventually I did have somebody well, not eventually, but like before I opened my business, around that same summer that I was trying to finish getting everything ready after graduation, I had a graphic designer design a logo for me, and I bartered for it. I gave him gift certificates for my business and the amount of the dollar amount that he said it cost him to, for his hours to make up this logo that he made based on this idea. So that was interesting, and I made my own logo there a little bit. And then on the inside, I had ordered a business card that was good for me to use during school. So it doesn't say licensed massage therapist, it just says massage therapist. You can order your own business cards. This is from Vistaprint. Super cheap to do. You can always use, don't ever use Vistaprint without a coupon. You can always find a discounted rate for Vistaprint. Just look up, discount codes or something. But if you need one, I could probably find one for you. So anyway, it's like $6 for 100 business cards. And then sometimes at the end of your order, they'll say, would you like to add another 100 for another $1? Oh, yeah, sure. So it's easy to get a lot of business cards on Vistaprint. So I just put my name, massage therapist, and I said, therapeutic, Swedish, relaxation, prenatal, and hot stones. So those are the types I learned during school that I felt like I can offer those things and pretty safely. Had my personal email address on there, and then a phone number and in-call appointments available. So I was willing to travel to people's homes. I didn't put a lot of information on here, but I put enough that they could find me and find some information out. So this is a plain business card. You could order something that you make up yourself that could still apply before you're licensed and after you're licensed. You could say student massage therapist or massage therapist in training or just massage therapy, which is what I wrote on mine. So some way that people would be able to contact you and know what your general offerings are. When you're a student, you are not, by law, you're not allowed to collect any money for your massages, including tips. It's written that way in the law. So I want you to know that ahead of time so you don't get too excited and then get disappointed. But all the practice you get is practice, but it's also marketing, because everybody you start to massage as a practicing student is going to be a potential customer in the future. So I really strongly would recommend to you to create a spreadsheet, like create an Excel spreadsheet that you save on your computer. And then whenever you do a massage on somebody that you're practicing on, start collecting their name, phone number, mailing address, and maybe some other details that you can use that as your starting mailing list for promotional activities when you start to become a business, and that you can send out, a postcard or an email to and say, hey, I since you were a client before, it's you might like to know, I've started my practice and here I am, and you can give them your website or whatever. So I highly recommend you starting a contact list now so that you've got your client list started. And my business plan, the first page has a bunch of stuff all together on it. So this is what it looks like. I will read it to you, but first I'll hold it up so you can see it, because I can't read it to you while I'm doing this, but you might be able to pause it later and watch it, look at it closer if you like more detail. So I said my business would be called Body and Spirit Massage Therapy and Holistic Wellness. My actual business is called Body and Spirit Massage Therapy. I like the holistic wellness thing. I don't feel especially qualified yet to put that as my title, but eventually I would like that to be kind of my business's gist, like a multifaceted holistic health expert. My address for my business was there, and then my mission. So you're going to write a mission statement eventually for your business plan. Mine was to compassionately bring holistic, physical, and emotional healing to the people of Central Illinois. And that's still the business plan, the mission on my website for my business. My philosophy is listed there. I believe that to be human means to be both a physical and spiritual being, and that wellness is a balanced state of being. I promote evidence-based practices to empower people taking responsibility for their wellness through a variety of natural and integrated Eastern and Western medicine traditions. And then I said my studio hours were Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I had a part-time job in school at a bakery, and I knew that when I first started, it also says Saturdays by appointment. So I knew that when I first started, I probably wouldn't be having quite enough business to sustain myself 100%, right? It's a realistic thing to expect that that's not going to be immediately enough. If you're an employee at a busy place where they book all of the appointments for you and they say, we're always booked up ahead of time, we need more massage therapists because we have people asking and waiting all the time, that's a place where you're probably going to be booked up full time immediately and you don't need to have another job. But when you're opening your own business, you're probably going to need to have side to side. If you've ever driven a stick shift, like there's a clutch that you push down in order to change the gear, get into first gear, and then start pushing that gas while you let up the clutch. These are your two jobs. You'll have your school job and your massage therapy practice. And then as one ramps up, the other can ramp down. But they have to balance each other out so that you still have income to pay your bills, right? So I put my hours being mostly evenings on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then kind of the middle of the day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I could catch people from different demographics who might have availability one time or the other, but I wasn't putting myself in my studio full time at the beginning. And then I also said walk-ins are welcome, appointments preferred. And then I say house calls by appointment at my phone number. And then I wrote, don't do this, but this is what I did. $10 additional fee for greater than 5 miles from studio. So that means for my house calls, I would charge, if they live 10 miles away from me or 20 miles away from me, I would charge $10 for that travel fee. That is not enough. I'll just tell you that right now. We get so nervous as newbies that we don't want to cheat anybody. We don't want them to think our prices are too high and then scare them away. So we undervalue ourselves continuously. And it's hard because we are in a market that, it's not paying what Chicago's market pays for massage therapy. You could easily just double it in Chicago. But we also are afraid that if we price something too high, we'll lose customers. And to a degree, that's true because our market determines kind of the going rate. And the general going rate for most people starting out is about $1 a minute. Some people actually say that is their rate, $1 a minute. Some people will say $60 for an hour. Some people will say $65 for an hour. That's a pretty common rate. But there's also people who undervalue that and say $50 an hour or $45 an hour. And then you have this skewed idea of what it should cost to get a massage. So some clients will not want to pay what you're charging, and that's okay. Let them go to the person who's undervaluing their services for $45 an hour, and you can get those clients who put the value on it that you think is correct or more correct, and then they will be so grateful to pay for your services anyway. I promise you. So, and I put a little prayer on the end of mine. I really like this statement. So, may all beings be released from suffering. I started off for probably the first year of my practice. This was just a silent prayer-like statement that I would make to myself as I started and ended all of my treatments. So it was just a little ritual I had to make myself, be in that mindset and take in like a really serious way what I was undertaking. So I just wanted to pray for all beings to be released from suffering and do my part to help. So then I have my menu of services, and I created a descriptive menu. So there's a lot of words on this page. Not all menus are going to have such a description, and I never really used these descriptions in my practice. I think it's kind of nice, and maybe this will come into play when I reopen my business now, because we have to have things that are easy to wipe off. So I got this handy dandy, book with plastic covers I can wipe off, and maybe it would be a nice thing to have. I don't know. We'll see. So for my menu of services, I had a 20-minute chair massage, and I said it would be $25. And I said, in this simple yet effective treatment, the client sits in an ergonomically designed massage chair, and the therapist provides treatment to back, neck, shoulders, scalp, and arms, recommended for clients on a budget, on a lunch break, or other limited time frame, or who wish to remain fully closed for treatment. And then I said a 1-hour full body table massage, $65, 90-minute full body table massage, $95. And I've had people text me or call me asking for the full body table massage. I admit I don't really like the way that feels or sounds. I was trying to come up with a way to describe it, and so now I just prefer to say Swedish massage, and people who might ask what that is, I can explain. That's where you see the table that you're used to seeing in massage therapy pictures with long gliding strokes on the skin using an oil. So that's contrasting with other types like chair massage where you're in a chair and you're clothed, or Thai massage where there's no oil and you're also clothed but you're on the floor. So there's different styles, and that's the most common people see in pictures, Swedish massage. This is the description for that one, using standard traditional Swedish massage techniques as well as elements of other massage styles, including reflexology and bodywork techniques, This relaxing, rejuvenating treatment is both therapeutic and soothing. Light to deep pressure available depending on client's wishes, and longer sessions available with more focus on areas of tension or imbalance. And then this is recommended for new clients, those who wish to address specific medical concerns, or anyone seeking a period of restful, deep relaxation in their day. And then I have the last segment on that page is 1 hour hot stone table massage, $80, 90-minute hot stone table massage, $120. The ultimate in soothing deep relaxation, this treatment incorporates traditional Swedish massage techniques along with the use of heated volcanic stones for a warming and deeply unwinding process. I have a typo. Process large areas of muscle tension. Recommended for clients with extremely tight or sore muscle areas, veteran massage clients curious about trying something new. And then on this page, there's some notes I've made in the years since then where I was like, I like some of this, but I want to change some of that. So let's see what I wrote here. 1 hour salt scrub treatment, $75. An invigorating and luxurious massage of the back, arms, and legs. The natural ingredients of the salt scrub nourish the skin while the massage strokes lightly exfoliate it, leaving your muscles relaxed and your skin soft and smooth. Massage is followed by warm towel treatment to cleanse and soothe the skin. Recommended for clients wishing to treat themselves to a thoroughly relaxing experience, and makes a great gift for someone who deserves pampering. So one thing I did change on that was originally I wrote the towel treatment and rehydration massage for the skin. Yeah, usually after a salt scrub, you'll do like an oil or a lotion again to rehydrate because that scrubbing and exfoliating and water kind of dries out the skin a little bit. So, but I decided to say cleansing and soothing instead of rehydration. One thing you do want to do when you're making a description or stating a claim to a client is to be sure you're only stating things that you know for sure have evidence that they do that thing. So I think it's fair to say that yes, the oil does rehydrate the skin, but you want to be sure that you're with your evidence-based process, practice mentality, making sure you're not making any statements that are subjective instead of objective. And then I have pregnancy massage listed. I originally said 45-minute prenatal massage because our textbook kind of makes it sound like pregnant women won't enjoy a massage longer than 45 minutes. I've never had a pregnant client not once a full hour. A few times she's needed to get up during the middle of the massage to go to take my bathroom break, and that's fine. I have a robe in my treatment room so that clients who need to get up in the middle of the treatment, I can, give them a robe. I step out, or I might help them put it around them so that they can get up if they need assistance. But I've never had really need for only a 45-minute massage. So I usually make it an hour actually, but originally I thought 45 minutes pregnancy massage for $50. So now it's just the same price as a regular massage, and it's usually the same amount of time unless she doesn't want that. And I said about this one, short and standard relaxation massage, specifically designed for the needs of expectant mothers with consideration for the newly redistributed body organs and pressure, giving elasticity to skin and muscle and greater ease of tension and stress. Recommended for any pregnant women cleared for massage by their primary caregivers. Assigned release may be required for clients in their first trimester. So that's what I originally wrote, and then I edited it later, and I said, recommended for any pregnant or newly delivered women cleared for massage by their primary caregivers. And then I said, assigned release may be required for clients in their first trimester or high-risk pregnancies. So there are some massage therapists who won't massage a pregnant person at all if they're in the first trimester. This isn't because because massage is more likely to increase miscarriage, but it is because that is the most common time for spontaneous abortions or miscarriages. So in the knowledge of that, a lot of massage therapists or companies who do massage therapy opt not to even take on that risk of being accused that might have been a factor. So they just don't do it at all. I have not done that in my practice. I feel safe about it. So I do massage for a woman in any trimester, but I might put that notification anyway and have her confirm for me if she's got high risk pregnancy factors, or if she's had difficult pregnancies or miscarriages before, then I want to have her be aware of the risk ahead of time and talk about that, and then get me a note that says she's okay to have massage or whatever, so that we've covered those bases and she understands that it's not a risk of getting in trouble by having a massage, but there's just a risk higher in general in that time period. So I just want her to know that and come into it fully aware of her choice, and then we can work very gently and carefully. I did some pregnancy massages for a client who was expecting her first twins, but she'd had, I think, 3 miscarriages before, super high risk. And so she was very careful, and we were doing it in her home. And so she had, at one point during the supine position part of it, she was starting to feel uncomfortable. She just didn't feel quite right. And so she told me that. And so we changed positions then to the side, even though we didn't finish the part of the massage that I was on. You know, the primary concern is her safety and how she feels. So I made sure that we moved as soon as she felt that way, and that she told me when she was feeling that way. So just trying to make it as safe and comfortable as possible is the key there. And then I have a little note on my menu that says you can add aromatherapy to any treatment for $5. And then I have a following page. Please see the following page for aromatherapy section. I'm gonna take off this bell because it is so loud. And so I'll show you that next page. I didn't use that. I did have essential oils in my studio where people could look through the selection if they wanted to pick out some scents that they like, or if they wanted me to recommend some. But I found that most people didn't really want to pick them out. They just sort of wanted me to pick one. A few people would have a preference, and some people would smell some and then decide on one. But that was a pretty small percentage of clients and a small percentage of aromatherapy clients. It's generally not recommended to say that you specialize in aromatherapy if you have not taken any continuing ed about aromatherapy, because the essential oils do have properties. They're chemicals with properties, and you want to know a lot about them so you can be safe about them. You know, peppermint oil is invigorating on your scalp and your feet, but it also can raise high blood pressure. It can decrease lactation. There's effects about it, and it's hot on the skin. It could cause burning if it's just undiluted on the skin. So as an example, you know, you don't want to just use them all willy-nilly. You want to have some understanding of how to use them safely. So it's best to get some kind of certificate, some class. You can take a 1-hour online continuing ed about some of those basics and then start with it. But it's a long, ongoing, lifelong journey. You start getting into that. That's going to take you into many more of them that you can learn about and expand. Just like anything with our continuing ed, you start being interested in reflexology. You can take a 1-hour online class that's going to be a basic introduction to reflexology. That's a good place to start. You can start putting it on your business cards and say that you're practicing massage therapy, reflexology. But it's not going to end there, because it's a lifelong practice you could specialize in for decades. So just knowing that you're just tipping the tip of the iceberg when you start getting into these things. It can expand from there a lot further. Okay, and then I said, ask about chair massage in your workplace. Great for employee appreciation or just a break time treat. For 2 or more office chair massage clients, additional distance fee is waived. And I crossed that off later on, but I thought it might draw some corporate clients in. You know, if I have 2 people in an office who want to team up and do chair massages on their lunch, I can do both of those at the same time, and then I won't charge them for the travel. Eventually, I thought, no, you know, my time is worth more than that, and I need the gas money to make sure I can get there. It's also taking out time I could be doing another massage, so I need to charge for that time. And then I have a policy that says, please arrive 10 minutes before your appointment to allow for paperwork and consultation. And then later on, as I was making different notes, I said I was going to make a different policy section for the back of the intake forms, and why I don't want them to arrive more than 10 minutes early due to other clients being there and confidentiality. And I have a small waiting room, so I wanted to make sure they didn't get there half an hour early. There's some early birds out there who really want to be early, but sometimes early is too early. And then I had a list of aromatherapy oils, some of the things that I really wanted to use, and some traits of those, properties of those. I made some notes here about a friend who I was going to make a blend for, but one of the things that I would do over again differently if I did this page and was going to use it, is to make sure on all of these properties, for bergamot, I said, it's an antidepressant, which is a stimulant, an antibiotic and disinfectant, analgesic, which is pain reducing, digestive, scar reduction, muscle relaxation, improved blood circulation. These were traits that I found. I think at this point, I don't even think I had the book that I use now to actually look up scientific studies on these oils. I think I might have just looked it up on the internet. So that is not necessarily the best way of citing my sources and having good evidence-based practice. There's a lot of claims about a lot of oils, and if you start reading about them, it sounds like, these are a miracle thing that will cure anything. But I really want you to try to find studies that back up your claims. So you can say, and as much as you want, about how nice it smells, how relaxing it smells. You can describe the smell, and that's enough to sell it to most people. They can look up the properties and the benefits themselves. You could say some people in ancient, wherever, have used it for this or that, if you look that up. But for the actual benefits, I would leave that to where the studies actually have been done. And there's not tons. There's a few. There are some, but not as many as about pharmaceuticals, because those are patented and they have to be going through all that stuff in order to be put on the market. But these are plant oils. They're essences that are distilled out of the plant, flowers and roots and grasses and stems and all kinds of leaves and things like that. So they're not necessarily all scientifically studied, and there's not very many companies who want to pay for those studies on something that's just natural that they can't really get a patent on. So there are some, and before you would make any claims about their medicinal properties, I would find those claims. Did you know that, I think it was lavender oil, has been used to reduce pain or anxiety and tension in dental clients waiting for procedures? Okay, I don't remember the exact details. I'm a little rusty on that myself. But there are studies on some oils that you could cite, but I would be careful about making claims. That's the gist of it. And then part of my business plan is to have an outline of where I'm going to be working, what's the space going to look like, and what's the dimensions and the size of the building and all that. So this was, on a printer that was running out of ink, so it looks pink. But I had actually picked out a building by the time I graduated. And so this is what it looked like. It had a little entryway. This lobby, it would go from the outside of the building in, and then actually go into a chiropractor's office over here. But through the lobby, I also had access to my building, or my rooms. So I had a tiny little lobby. It was empty before I rented this room. So I was able to put a little chair and table in there and my sign, so that people going through to the chiropractor's office would see my business. And then they could wait here for their appointment if I was still finishing up with somebody else. And then they come into my room, and I had my table and a desk and a bookshelf, and that's about it. It was really small. And then a shared bathroom with my landlord, who was over here. And so they'd walk through this little hallway to the bathroom after their treatment. And so my practice, it started off real basic, and I would start with the appointment, doing the consultation and intake forms and all of that in here. And then I would step out and wash my hands and hang out in this hallway while they got on the table. And then I would knock and ask them if they were ready. And they'd say yes. Okay. So then I'd go back in, do my massage. And then I would let them know beforehand that after I'm done, I will step back out in the hallway. And then they can just open the door when they're ready. So that's how I did it. And then after the massage, I'd leave back over here, go wash my hands again and hang out in the hallway. And then they would come and open this door. And when they were done, I'd come in and talk with them about, if I had any homework or what I noticed in the massage, and then try to schedule the next appointment while they're still with me. And then they would leave, and then I'd start another one. So it worked okay. It was a little annoying to share the bathroom and not have a different waiting area, but it worked fine. So I had that layout. It was 9 by 19 foot room, and it worked okay. It was great. It was like here's my financials, $170 a month. So it was pretty great. Here's my financial page. This is also part of your business plan. I want you to make a list of the supplies you're going to need. What's your basic bare bones minimum that you need in order to do your business? And is it going to cover your expenses, both your personal and your business? Because as a sole proprietor, it's the same thing. Your business is filed under your personal social security number. So you just want to make sure that you're able to support yourself, or see how long it will be until you can. So anticipated budget of one-time fees, your annual fees, and your monthly fees, and then your anticipated goals and income. So I had estimated that 5 chair massages per week would earn me $125. 10 full body table massages per week would earn me $650. And my total weekly income would be $775, with a total monthly of $3,100. That's what I had estimated. And then I set goals for myself. So 10 full body table massages per week was my beginning for table massage, Swedish. And then I eventually would increase it. So 1 or 2 more per week until, by the end of the first month, I was doing, like 12, 14, 16 more massages per week. And then I tried to keep increasing the goals so that I could eventually have what I needed to really pay all my bills. I had my business license fee, which was a one-time fee, $50. A sign for my door, which was the bigger, printed by somebody else sign, $100. Sign for the streets, which was on a big billboard. Well, not billboard, but like a bigger sign that I had to pay somebody to put up stuff onto it. It was $200. A water station, $75. Massage table was $200. 5 sets of sheets, $75. 5 face cradle covers, which were the fleece padded ones, $50. Heated fleece table warmer, $60. Blanket, $10. A waiting room chair, $50. Waiting room table, $45. The reality is that I love a good bargain, and I like thrift stores because you can find cool stuff at a way cheaper price, slap a coat of paint on it, and it's great, real cheap. So I used stuff for a lot of those, like tables and chairs in the waiting room. I didn't pay new prices for those. A hutch or cabinet I bought from my sister, $50. Step stool, $25. 7 bathroom towels for the bathroom and for the client, $50. A welcome mat, $15. Hot stone set, $60. A lamp, $20. Artwork, I got 2 posters for 2 different rooms, so $100. Mirrors, 5. Curtains and window treatments, $50. Plants, $75. Tote for storage, $15. An open sign, $15. So my subtotal of all of the anticipated one-time fees was $1,395. It's kind of a lot. What I did for that was, and including like my first time purchases in reality, I don't think this was in the budget, but originally I also ordered some business cards off of Vistaprint, some new ones, some more signs and stuff like that. And then I did a couple of polo shirts that, looked professional because they had the collar. And I put my logo, or a lotus flower, and my name. So that was my shirt logo, because I could find it on Vistaprint. And I ordered 2 of those shirts. So that was my uniform for myself when I first started. And I still have those. It looks professional when I want to do certain things to promote my business. I can slap on that polo shirt and I'm ready to go. And so for all of that initial cost, I didn't have, $1,400 sitting around yet from savings. It's great if you're able to do that. I hope you can. But I took money out of my 401k to do that, to start my business. So I had to pay like 30% interest or something that year on my taxes to take out that money. But it was gonna propel me into my future where I could earn more money. So it did do that. And then for annual fees, my plan was to have my general professional liability insurance and membership through AMTA, the American Massage Therapy Association. So that annual fee was $235. And then a fund for continuing education. So that was $500 a year. I just wanted to have an account where I put money in for education, and then it's always there. When I see the class I'm going to sign up for, I can pay for it and then travel to it. So that total was $735. And then my anticipation of monthly fees, give you an example of what kinds of things you might expect. For my rent, my expected monthly fee was $170. Utilities were included in the rent, so that was $0. My telephone bill, which was my mobile phone, but it was included as a business expense because I'm going to be using it for my mobile phone, for my work phone. Sorry. So my bill at that time was $199. My oils for my business were a quart of coconut oil per month, $15, and jojoba oil, 4-ounce bottles, for $12. Bleach for cleaning was $5, and a cleaning ingredients for a recipe I was going to make for a scrub using some other things like Castile soap and vinegar and baking soda. That was for $5. Dustpan and broom, $5. Portable sanitizing wipes, $5. Facial tissue, $5. Toilet paper, $10. Hand soap, $5. Essential oils, $10. Salt scrub ingredients, $10. Thank you cards, $10. Printer paper and envelopes, $5. Advertisements, $50. Postage, $5. And fuel for house calls, $40. So that subtotal for my monthly fees I estimated would be about $566 a month. So the total of everything I was going to need for getting my business started for that first month was $2,696. And I believe that's what I withdrew from my 401k, was that whole amount. And then I had to decide where I'm going to use it. And it became really real when I was doing that, because it's like, I want to use every dollar wisely, right? So I had to come up with the very most basic stuff to start that I needed to have, but I didn't want to have a lot of extra because I didn't want to waste any of that money. That precious retirement money with precious fees attached. So, moving to a transition between talking about business plans and what kinds of things you can look forward to as a new business owner. I want to get back into anatomy. We're talking about the spine first as like a landmark and really getting comfortable with the terminology and finding it. We did a little palpation on the morning call. So between last assignment with the Trailguide and this assignment with the Trailguide, you'll have hopefully palpated some spines at home and written about them so you can compare and contrast. I want you to notice and know about the spine that there are natural curvatures. We've talked about them before, but the cervical spine has this inward curve called lordosis, right? Lordosis stands really upright, so his back is even curved up here at this portion, externally kind of rotated or extended, I should say. When viewed from the side, the vertebral column has 4 natural curvatures. So the cervical and lumbar regions both bend anteriorly to form lordotic curves. So the lordosis is in the lumbar and cervical spines. And then the thoracic and sacral sections bow posteriorly. So they're going to have this kyphotic curve because you bend forward, that part of the thoracic spine and the sacrum already does it, where they curve outward. So that chyle, the hunchback, kyphosis, it makes a kyphotic curve. An abnormal lateral curvature of the spine is scoliosis. We've all heard of that term. At birth, the spine has a single kyphotic curvature, because when we're a fetus, we're just in that curled around position, right? The cervical lordosis develops when an infant begins to hold their head erect. So by learning to push against gravity and hold the head upward, that lordotic curve of the cervical spine starts to develop. And then as they begin to stand and walk, the lumbar lordosis evolves. So as they start toddling around and holding their spine upward, those erector spinae muscles are going to hold it up in an extended position, and then that spinal curvature will cement into place as a lordotic curve. So there's a picture here of the curves to illustrate what I've just talked about. It's kind of blurry, I think. I'm sorry, I don't know how to focus the screen, but you can see the curve of the cervical and lumbar curve inward, like a lordotic curve, and the thoracic and sacral curve outward, like a kyphotic curve. Okay. So when you're standing up, the entire weight of your trunk, head, and arms is transferred through the bodies of your vertebrae. The lumbar vertebrae at the base of the spine are what bears the brunt of the weight. They hold most of your body's weight in your spine, Fortunately, between the bodies of the vertebrae are intervertebral discs. Those are what cushion some of that shock, some of that weight. And those discs are composed of a tough outer layer called the annulus fibrosus, ANNULUS, fibrosus, FIBROSUS. So the annulus fibrosus, and a liquid center called the nucleus pulposus. When the weight is placed on a disc, the annulosus fibrosus, the outer part, supports the nucleus pulposus in compressing and distributing the pressure. So it's just like if you were sleeping on a bed of nails, you would be fine because your weight is spread out all over them. But if you sit up on a bed of nails, it's going to poke a lot harder into the butt because you're sitting on it is a lot less. If you just push one finger into it, it's going to hurt a lot more because it's not spread out. So when you have that disc in your spine, the annulosus fibrosus supports and helps the nucleosus pulposus spread out that weight and compression pressure. The nucleus is mostly water, some of which is squeezed out in the course of the day. And when you're asleep, the pressure is off the spine and the discs are able to fully restore themselves. So you wake up in the morning about half an inch taller than you were the night before. Fun fact. So here's another view of the spine. I got this handy dandy desk reference of posters that was in my studio. Let's see if I can show it to you. Hold this off up in this position. So we have the top of the spine here, the atlas C1, which has a transverse process but no spinous process, and then axis C2, the second bone. And there's a few views of it over here on the side. The main one I wanted to show you is this one. So they're pulled apart from each other, and the axis C2 has this dens of the axis. It's called the odontoid process. And the odontoid process sticks up superiorly into this center part of the atlas. So this rests on it so that it can be a pivot joint and rotate around the odontoid process. Okay. And then the shape of most vertebrae are this way. So it starts here at the second, at C2. Sorry, this is the lumbar, but most of them have a general shape like this. So the cervical vertebrae, 5th cervical vertebrae, 7th and 11th cervical vertebrae, they all have this general shape where there's a body that has the center, and then it has the spinous process sticking out the back, and then these transverse processes sticking out the side. The lamina groove, this is the lamina right here. So this curve here on the sides is what down the whole side of the spine is going to make a lamina groove between spinous and transverse processes. And even on the sacrum, there's still a little bit of that shape, even though these are vestigial bones that have all been fused together. So there's like 5 fused vertebrae, similar shape, but they're melding together, and then 5 tiny ones melding together for the coccyx. They still have a little bit of a spinous process. Median sacral crest. And then the transverse processes are all merging together to create this surface. Okay. So this is a general overview of the spine, but we have how many cervical vertebrae? It's like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
7.
Yep, 7 for breakfast. So 7 cervical. And then the thoracic is how many?
12.
12, yep. And then how many are in the lumbar?
5.
5, yep, that's right. And then the sacrum is actually 5 fused together.
Okay.
Yep. So that's how we count them. But we don't usually count these as 5, just as 1. But for the spine, we've got the total. That's 24, right? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yep, 24 bones. 24 bones in the spine. All right, that's about our hour. So I'm going to stop it there. I did find that article. I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to give you one more thing, which is this article is from Newsweek. I found it last summer. So it's got this sensational title. It says, maybe you put your phone on mute there. There we go. Humans have started growing spikes in the back of their skulls because we use smartphones so much. That's the headline of the article. What? I had to click on that. Right? So it says, and you might do this along with me because it gives instructions right at the beginning of the article. Press your fingers into the back of your skull, just above your neck. If you feel a small spike, you may be among people whose bodies have responded to smartphone use by growing new layers of bone. The phenomenon involves what is known as an external occipital protuberance, a growth which appears on the back of the head. David Shahar, a health scientist at the University of the Sunshine Coast, Australia, told BBC.com that in the last decade of his 20-year career, he has noticed more patients with half the protrusion, which was once considered rare. Shahar explained to BBC.com that when the external occipital protuberance was first studied by French scientist Paul Broca in 1885, quote, he didn't like it because he had studied so many specimens and he hadn't really seen any which had it, end quote. In a study published in the Journal of Anatomy in 2016, Shahar and his co-author described how he had been spotting external occipital protuberances more often in x-rays of relatively young patients at his clinic. To find out more, he looked at 218 radiographs of the lateral cervical spine, where the external occipital protuberance appears, of people aged between 18 to 30 years old. A growth had to be at least 5 millimeters long to be counted as an external occipital protuberance, with anything bigger than 10 millimeters being classified as enlarged. Of the group, 41% had the lump, with 10% having a spike of at least 20 millimeters long. It was more common in men than women, at 67% versus 20%. The longest was 35.7 millimeters in a man and 25.5 millimeters in a woman. This buildup of bone on the external occipital protuberance is a type of enthesophyte. Enthesophytes are abnormal bony projections at the attachment of a tendon or ligament, and it's a bone's response to stress. I had to look that up. The bony projection on a tendon or ligament is thought to grow gradually over time, so it's not expected in young people. Enthesophytes are relatively common in older people. The study explained that the cases of enthesophytes poking out of the external occipital protuberances are rare in the medical literature, The study in 2012, for example, looked at 40 skulls and found just one measuring 9 millimeters. Shahar and his co-authors wrote that their findings could be explained by the rise in the use of handheld technologies from early childhood, and said that ways to prevent and treat growth should be considered. Describing the phenomenon dubbed text neck, Shahar told BBC.com that as we look down at devices like smartphones and tablets, our necks must work to keep our heads in place. Prolonged straining could lead the body to build new bone to increase the surface area holding up this mass. In another study published in the journal Scientific Reports in 2018, involving 1,200 participants aged between 18 and 86, Shahar's found older people were less likely to have the external occipital protuberance than younger individuals. Shahar told BBC.com he expects external occipital protuberances to become larger. He said, "Imagine if you have stalactites and stalagmites. If no one is bothering them, they will just keep growing." That's it. So, when it's used as a landmark in our book, we all have a different size one, probably. Mine is pretty small, but it's definitely there. I can definitely feel it. I don't know how many millimeters it is, but I would guess, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, maybe. So see how yours is. Does it stick out like a little?
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Is it that the bump right at the base of your skull, there's a little tiny bump there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so mine's probably the size of my fingertip. I've always had that bump there.
Mm-hmm.
Like right at the base of the skull, and it sticks out. It's like a little bony prominent nodule, like not like a, I don't know, I can't explain it any better. It's like, yeah, what he was explaining, but it's kind of like the tip of my finger. My fingers are kind of.
What if you don't
So I
feel
have
anything?
one.
That would it be possible not to have a spike on your neck at all?
It's possible. Yeah. I mean, everybody's gonna have like, so if you followed up the sides of your neck, there's two areas on each side, like an area on each side that is kind of sticks out. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this if I turn around, but I'll try.
Isn't that at the base of the skull, you feel them, they're kind of like muscles, they feel softer, and they're your occipitals. Aren't
Yeah,
those
so
your occipital
occipital
region?
muscles. Yep, occipital muscles sticking out on the sides. The external occipital protuberance is in the middle. So besides
Yes.
those two things, it's going to be an indented area here. And then right in that area, you should be able to feel, if you go transverse side to side across, you'll feel a little thing that sticks out. So for me,
okay. Yeah.
small.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting little tidbit
Weird.
that it used to
Almost
be
like
lot
a
more
point,
rare.
like a little point or spike in the base
Yeah.
of your skull.
Yeah.
Kind of. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. The external occipital protuberance. Say that 3 times fast and you'll sound really smart, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So now you can try to find it on all your family members, see how they are, see if you can compare the sizes, and then think about the fact that they're maybe being caused by us always doing this, looking down, we're doing stuff all the time. So our head is having to hold itself up more in a way our ancestors never did. We used to be outdoors looking around. We might be planting something or digging something occasionally, but we're also going to be, oh, look at that bird over there. We're going to be like
It
observing.
makes me think of the real long poster of the evolution of how our skull began, so ape-like into this, a
standing more
completely
upright.
different shape. Yeah. So
Right.
it'd be a surprise to see how different they will make it, say 100 years from now or whatever.
Right. We'll all have kyphosis eventually again if we keep it up, right? Unless we get. When I became a massage therapist, I started noticing real quickly that texting all the time, these long messages, hurts. It hurts my wrist, my carpals, my thumbs. I don't want to just be typing all the time with my thumbs. So I learned real quick that I could do voice texting, and I use it all the time. You guys have probably noticed this. Sometimes something I type might not look quite right. It's because of voice texting. I try to proofread it, but if I'm doing multitasking, it's not always going to happen. So if I'm like driving in the car, I can tell my phone, okay, Google, and it'll respond to me, and I can send a text message just by saying stuff instead of having to type stuff. So I do that. And it's helped a lot because my neck would hurt, my thumbs would hurt, my wrists would hurt, my back would hurt. I'm like, why am I doing that to myself? I got to save my body for my work because I want to try to help people. I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm sore from texting. So it helped me realize it really quickly that what I was doing was causing me pain. Before we go, I also want to, speaking of phones, I'm going to show you on mine some apps that I have downloaded. This is an Android phone. So if you have an iPhone, it's going to be different, but probably some of them will be there and some will be similar. So this top row on my phone are things that I recommend for you as study tips and guides and helps.
I'm not able to see it. You could lift it. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
So the first one, it looks like a red logo box with Emblex Prep, red and white. And that one gives you practice Emblex questions in categories. You can take little quizzes. It will be really hard for you right now, but you could start. That would be fine. Or you can just get it when you start getting into like the end of this module. When it starts to review a whole body system that we've covered, that's a great time to go through and start practicing answering questions about it.
What did you say that was called again? Emblex?
Emblex Prep.
Prep. Thank you.
Yep. Looks like that. Well, my phone is making it blurry, but you get kind of the idea. Red box with a white prep and Emblex is in red. And that one will like re-ask you questions that you got wrong so you can learn it. It's really nice. There's also Anatomy Quiz Lite. So it's a free version, Anatomy Quiz Lite. So this one has some different systems you can choose: bones, muscles, organs, reference, etc. So on the bones, I'm selecting here. Let's do the rib cage. So it'll open up a picture of it. You can touch different parts of it and it'll tell you costal cartilage. Okay. And then you're trying to, oh, the question is at the top, costal cartilage. So I'm supposed to select the correct part, which is here. So it'll quiz you on some stuff. The next question, floating ribs, right. So on the right side, floating ribs. I think it's those. Oh, it's the client's right. Floating ribs, right side. Okay, so I haven't used this app that much, but this is another way to review, which actually might come in helpful now. So that one is called Anatomy Quiz Lite. And then there's one called Atlas, which I think you should get now. It's by Visible Body. So depending on which version of a phone you have, look up Visible Body or Atlas, and it'll look like this. This is a 2021 version. And it has all kinds of different ways of looking at the body: bones, circulatory system, nervous system, respiratory.
It says that costs $25.
There's a free version.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can find it by the system. You can find all kinds of things, and then you can layer them. So if I just look up the full skeleton, it's going to show me, but I can also zoom in and rotate my screen. I can change the angles.
Thank you. That looks so helpful.
Yeah. And then once you start layering systems, you could pull up the system, and then you could put the nervous system over this and see where those nerves go in relation to those bones. And then you could see where the muscles go, which bones do they attach to, which parts of the muscles, all of that. Okay, so let's see if we can find the external occipital protuberance on this guy. Whoop. Yeah, it looks like.
Can you post all those apps in chat, please?
Yeah, we'll try. So the external occipital protuberance is right there. So yeah, I'll try to post you a name and picture or something like that of all these. And then the other ones, got a couple more. Oops. This one called AMTA, Association, American Massage Therapy Association. They have an app, and it's opening right now. It's another name is maybe Pocket Prep. I don't know. This one takes a second to load, I guess. Maybe. I don't know if it'll load in time. The battery on my phone that's doing this video is getting pretty low. We'll see. And then, yeah, that's the last one I have. The other one is a camera, a thing for printing pictures. So, yeah, so those are my app recommendations. Look up in your Play Store or your iTunes Store, free, and then the names of these apps. So you could find free AMTA and see what comes up. Free Atlas or free Visible Body, free MBLEX Prep. And then download yourself some tools. What I love about that, the Atlas one, is just my favorite, the Visible Body, because you can, when you start talking about a specific muscle, find it in there and then see where it goes and what it intersects with and what other stuff attaches to it. So it really helps you visualize it in the body. Okay, any other questions? This is about it for this call. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks so
welcome.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.